Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone, and I'm really excited today because we have a lot going on in the community, which we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about some gardening tips because I am an awful gardener, so I am not going to give them to you. I have a farmer who's joining us, who's fabulous and going to tell us what we can and can't plant now at this time of year. And as always, we're going to start with Mayor Scott Galvin. Welcome, Scott.
Hey, Samantha, how are you doing?
Good. I was talking before we started recording that I went to a Passover at my cousin's Wednesday and hosted Easter dinner at my house yesterday. I'm like in an eating fest. That's all I've done for a week
Good
now.
for you. A little diversity really there too. Nice.
That's right. We got to do all kinds of great cuisine. So it was really fun. It was great few days. And we are having a super warm week. Feels like spring might really be here, which I'm excited about. And I know that we had some great news in that many of the folks have moved into the new fire station headquarters. I don't know that it's fully operational yet, but we're in good shape. And one of the things I realized is I didn't know what was going to happen to the two stations that we closed. Do we have any plans for those buildings?
Well, it's always been the plan that the North Woburn and the Central Square have been combined into one, rolled into one, and that's what the plan is going to be. We did a study about the response time when we built the station, well publicized, well presented, and the city of Woburn is the way these stations are spread out through or placed throughout the city, we can pretty much handle the entire area of the city like we were before. So we're keeping an eye on growth in the city, which is always something that is a good thing, but it also brings other issues with it. But right now we're in excellent shape. The station, as you said, is open, it's close to fully operational. We're still working on the punch list on some of the items within the station, but it's a great place, and we plan on having the grand opening so people, residents can come in and see what their tax money is been spent on, which I'm sure they'll be amazed and pretty proud of the station that was built. So we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, it looks absolutely stunning. And I know the two stations that are not going to be operating needed work. So I think I'm sure that everybody's enjoying being in the new space as they get in there and get settled. Just clear, there's no plans right now for any of the space, the land or the buildings that we will no longer be using, right? Those are just going to stay for a while.
Well, no, we're gonna move to we'll move with the city council to have them put out to bid. There's a whole process that we'll go through, but we'll move on that to get them they're decommissioned right now, and the next step will be I think if you've seen this, Samantha, in your time around, that the longer buildings stay around, the more problems they present down the road. So we learning from past experience, I'm going to move swiftly, and we plan on doing that very shortly.
That's great. And that's how we do things, right? We learn along the way.
We definitely do. I mean, there's a lot of things to learn from, but the other good thing is the three remaining stations, as part of this appropriation to build a new station, we had put some money aside or included in the bond authorization, about $2 million for each station to rehab them. And they're all a little bit, showing their age, the three other stations. So, I think it's, we're talking about bringing them up to speed, as far as the living conditions that, we have our central station now. So the updates to the other three stations won't be nearly as extensive as what we see here. They're really to upgrade the living quarters and, to improve the conditions of the area where we store the engine.
Oh, that's great. I actually didn't realize that was part of it. So I appreciate that. I appreciate you pointing that out. That's great. I know that there's been a ton of discussions around budgets in schools. We've had a couple of the beginning of the process happened. I don't want to put you on the spot, but if there's any information you want to share or can share with us in terms of proposed school budget stuff, because I've had lots of people asking me about that who are curious where we think we'll be. And I know we have already negotiated salaries and things, so that's not a question. The question is, where do we end up? So, how much growth can we have in other areas?
Yeah, the initial budget that came back was way out of line, and we're working on bringing that back into reality. So we're going through it. We're going through the different areas that we might be able to remove items from the budget that, there might be other funding sources to address them. But there are definitely, the way this budget works is the first pass is it goes, as a wish list type of budget. And, we need to bring that back to a budget that the schools can live with, that provides a great education to our children, which we provided in the past for all our budgets. And, something that can fit within the constraints of Prop 2.5 and the tax revenues that we generate. So we're looking at all those areas, and we'll be making a responsible counter in response to that budget.
Great. And just to make sure everybody who's watching understands the way this process works, the school committee and the administration of the schools ultimately decides how money is spent. But the mayor's office and city council appropriates a certain total value, and there's some things that are givens that have to come out of that. But there is still, right now, if I understood you correctly, we're still trying to figure out what that total pool of money that will be given to the schools to spend will be. Is that correct?
Yeah, and really it's the total amount of money that we have overall, whether, from the tax levy, from the local receipts, from Chapter 70 money, which is from the state, and also our local unrestricted aid, which we use, and then we total what we have available, and that's the total amount that we can spend on both the city side and on the school side. And as you know, on the city side, we have a lot of expenses that are attributed to the schools as well. For instance, we get, our health insurance is largely driven by, this year we've got a 5% increase, which is pretty reasonable. I think it's pretty normal in the healthcare industry, about a 5% increase in our health insurance. But what drives it is new employees. So we'll be taking a look at that. And we've got to be very careful with that. And that's why the number of new employees that were requested by the schools is something that we have to taper back on. Like I said, there's other capital expenses that we're going to pull out of the budget, and probably, as we have, fund them through our capital budget, some of them. But it's a process that takes a while to put together, and that's what we're working on now. Making sure that, again, the overall goal, Samantha, is that we want to strengthen the school system. And if you look at the budgets that we've passed or approved over the past years, it's a healthy budget for the schools to implement programs that are helping our children move forward. But one of the other things about the budget that is tough, and I think you see this in other cities and towns, is the ESSER funds. That's the money from COVID that's still working its way through our budget, and those revenues allow the school department to increase their budget even further than the percentage that we allow. And what you have to be very careful about, not only Woburn but other communities, is the fiscal cliff when that money goes away, because the money is really meant for one-time expenses, capital expenses. But what you find with cities and towns is sometimes they'll add positions, and when the money's gone, that becomes, as I say, a fiscal cliff that needs to be addressed. So we're really cautious about that, and we're trying to work with the superintendent and working to make sure that those are for expenses that it's understood that when they're gone, when the revenue's gone, those expenses need to either be self-supporting in some way or not impacting the budget, because you'll have a real, as I hate to say it, but a fiscal cliff with revenues available to cover those expenses.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And I know that we put money aside. We were doing a study because we have some older schools that we were looking at what we want to do in terms of middle schools and some of the elementary schools. And I think we had money in the budget. What I don't remember is if that budget was this year or next fiscal year, where we'll be doing that school study to look at the physical.
That study is complete. Buildings. It's complete, Samantha.
Complete.
It'll be presented to the public probably after this budget cycle, and talk about different capital expenditures and how we're going to fund those.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. It's good to know it's complete. Yeah. I had thought it had started, but then I couldn't remember. And rather than try and remember myself, I figured I'd ask you. I knew you knew the answer. That's great. I had, I'm just looking at my notes here. The only other question I had was just really a reminder for everyone who's watching. We have the shredding event coming up at City Hall for people who are doing spring cleaning and want to safely get rid of documents with, financial information, privacy information and things. That's happening. Is it the 22nd? Do I have that right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, great.
Not this Saturday, but the following.
Okay, excellent. Anything else you want to touch base on before we move on?
No, we are, we are working on some other capital events. We've got, like, I think I've told you, we've got I think a pretty exciting one. It's, we've put, with the approval of the city council, we're starting a pretty extensive tree planting throughout the city, and this will be the first year the plan is being completed as we speak, and we're hoping to roll it out on
Earth Day?
Yeah, Earth Day. So
Earth Week, yeah.
that's coming up.
That's great. That's
that's coming up in a
exciting.
couple of weeks. But there's a lot, we've got trees that we're planting throughout, the main roads and in the different main streets and access throughout the city. But also, if people do abut a busy road and they'd like to have a tree planted, they could certainly put the request in, and we'll take those as they come. But we're looking at that as well.
Oh, that's a really wonderful thing to end on, Scott. Thank you for joining us. And it's the perfect transition. I'm going to introduce Andrew, and we're going to talk all about gardening because I need desperate help. This is not a skill I have.
Thanks, Smith.
Thanks, Scott. Welcome, Andrew. Hey, I'm so glad that you're here because I'm really, it's not only that and actually I'm looking in my video, and behind me, I can see a plant that desperately needs to be watered. Its leaves don't naturally droop down, except that I forgot to water it. So I will correct that. But that just tells you everything you need to know. Not only do I not have a green thumb, I actually have a black thumb. I'm really, really, really bad, no matter how many attempts that I've made. And I think it's just that I tend to get a little lazy and inconsistent. So I'm thrilled that you're here. And you're with Little North Farm. I have met you through your wife. She used to teach yoga. That's how we met. And I'm really excited you're here because one of the things that I make the mistake on every year around this time, it starts to get warmer, the sun starts to shine, and I decide I can plant all my flowers and all my things, and I'm going to get rid of all the winter look, and I do it too early every time. And so I thought we could start today. Tell us what we should be planting now or what we should stay away from.
Well, let's start by this. Are you referring to vegetables or flowers, or what are you?
Whatever we might want to be doing right now. Maybe, if some folks want to do vegetable gardens, or if people want to plant flowers, what should we stay away from? What should we be able to think about? Maybe you'll tell me everything should be done inside still.
Okay, yeah. So I have a grow room downstairs. Probably have a few thousand seedlings growing right now. I know we got excited about this week coming up, but it's kind of like fool's gold, and it's gonna cool off, and you're gonna have some cool nights and so on and so forth. So you kind of got a baby step into spring in this perspective. Let's start with the garden side, and then I'll give you some other little tips on some other things on grass and things like that. So, you always want to start with like a leafy green, early stuff, lettuces, peas. You don't want to put out herbs like basil. That's still a summer month plant. But you can kind of get everything squared away. You can start planting spinaches and mesclun greens and things of that nature. A cold weather crop is something that you'd want to focus on. But the thing about when you're starting to get excited is you're really trying to get your garden where you want it to be for looking down for the summer months. One thing that I will say is, whenever you buy a plant from a store or from a greenhouse or Home Depot, those plants are usually hardened off by now. So you want to focus on a hardened off plant of any variety, because if not, and you take a plant from the inside or a little cocoon, as we'll say, it'll go somewhere and it'll go and be shocked. So the shocking of it is something you really need to take in consideration. I'm going to be repasturing one of my fields out back, which I have. I just got some seeds today. I feel like starting grass, planting shrubs. I just put some arborvitaes, emerald green arborvitaes out front. You could do a lot of like non, probably, I wouldn't do much annual stuff, but you could put perennial stuff for sure right now, because they like all temperatures, right? They can deal with all different types of stuff.
That is good advice. Now I know what to look for. How do we know in general what might do well in our yards? Because I know there's some things that do well in bright light, certain soil conditions. You know, I don't even know what to look for in my yard to kind of figure out what to begin with.
Well, like, you know, having a smaller piece of property, you really want to maximize the larger, sunnier, I mean, the more sunnier areas to focus on a vegetable garden, because most of the vegetables that people tend to grow in New England, they want tomatoes, cucumbers, stuff like that. You need to maximize your sun time on that sundial, where if you want to do some shrubs, or a lot of times a lot of nurseries and a lot of companies, or scientists or whomever is creating these strands of plants, are really, if they say they're okay in shade, they're okay in shade. You want to kind of read labels, or figure out what areas you get sun and which areas you don't get sun, and do some research online to kind of follow up with that. Because if you put plants in an area that it's not going to succeed well, it's going to fail. So those are things to take in consideration. People, I like to look at people's gardens and ask questions about when the sun is, or how long you have sun, things like that. The climate is pretty dictating. It's more or less like the amount of sun you get for any photosynthesis.
I love it. So this is like baking. So when you cook, you can like throw things in it and mess with the recipe and it can come out fine. When you do that with baking, you have cakes that don't rise, and you have all kinds of funky things that happen that don't treat it. There's a lot more science and chemistry to it. This is like that. If it says it's for shade, it's for shade. If it says it can handle sun, it can handle sun. So that's a good guidepost for us. Correct. Now, I know in the past you've grown giant pumpkins, right? Yeah. So tell us what the biggest one has been, and kind of what inspired you to do that, because that's a whole nother level of care for something like that.
Yeah. So I started gardening in small areas. Like I started farming and growing giant pumpkins in Melrose, which is a similar footprint to Woburn, but now we live in Georgetown. We have a little bit of a country setting, so it's a little bit of different experience. But I don't know, like I have my family have always been gardeners, and I got into growing giant pumpkins because I love Halloween, and it's a challenge that you need to take on. It's really quite extreme when you think of it. Giant pumpkins, if you've been to the Topsfield Fair or other places, you've seen these massive. It's incredible how they create and how they grow. It's really remarkable. So the largest one, so when you grow giant pumpkins, it's very risky to lose them. They can go down, which means that they can get a crack in them. You can blow them up. There are all different types of things that can happen to them. So the biggest one that I was most likely going to have would have been close to 1,600 pounds. I never got a chance to take it to get it weighed, but when it was in the stage that it was in, it aborted, and it was at a epic size at that time. I usually average over 1,000. As a rule of thumb, growing 1,000-pound pumpkin is pretty easy to do nowadays.
I don't know. I had a little normal-sized pumpkin in my side yard that actually did grow last year by no work on me. It was like Mother Nature did its thing, but like the vines alone took over so much I couldn't have anticipated.
Yeah, I mean this is high level gardening at its best. But one thing that's remarkable is I don't really have the time to dedicate to grow champion level pumpkins, because I have a family and I have a lot of other moving parts at my farm. But there are some people that I know that are my friends that grow 2,500-pound pumpkins. So that's amazing.
I have to ask, what do you do with 1,000-pound pumpkin when you're done weighing it? Is it used for feed, or is it can you use it to
I grow organically. but I don't grow pumpkins organically.
Okay. That helps.
Yeah, so they're used. I grow smaller ones to sell to hotels and places of that, for an autumn display. But I will sell them, or we'll keep them in the front of the house and carve them, or I've donated them to places. So
That sounds super
it's just
fun.
it's just a fun thing, it's amazing. They're beautiful,
Yeah, that's really, really awesome. So you've given us some good tips I want to remind us about. So, definitely don't, look at the labeling of the plants you're putting in, think about where sun is. Don't do what I do every year, which is jump the gun and, want to plant everything. Really, there's just a few things that can go outside. You also mentioned you have like a grow room in your basement. So if somebody does want to do some more seedlings or get started, but not ready to plant outside, what might you suggest in terms of lighting for them to use or placement in their house that might be good for that kind of work?
So, all right. So I'll use my father for an example. My dad's a flower guy, and he grows a lot of flowers. He still lives in Melrose. He doesn't have a ton of space to kind of get these huge gardens going. So he does a lot of containers and things of that nature. But my dad was a little itchy this spring, and he sees my grow room down my basement with, I got 7 lights and heat mats, and it's crazy. But my father bought on Amazon, he bought a small little tabletop heat mat and tabletop light to grow a fair share of small stuff that he started, flowers and vegetables. So for someone that is a hobby, a household grower that wants to, get involved or do something, that's a fun way. You can do that with your kids. It's a good way to save money on everything is so expensive now. Buying seeds are a lot cheaper than buying, $10 plants. So it's a fun thing, and you could do that in your living room or your kitchen or a table or a basement. It's beautiful that things have come a long way for accessibility and capability for people to try new things, which is really cool. So I think for like $50, my dad bought that whole kit. So
that's super fun. My son has a box that he put some soil in. It sits on his heater in his room.
Yeah,
so it's a little bit warm, and I don't know what he's growing.
Yeah.
And there's some type of lettuce he told me, and something else, but we'll see what happens with it. But
that's great.
It was fun.
There's so many options. There's so many. A lot of people are going to the LED lighting, which is uses less energy, and is still creating the UV light that it needs. But I tend to use the old. They're called like their large skinny panel grow lights, and the reason why I use that is because they throw heat, and it heats my space up. My basement's like 75 degrees.
Wow.
Yeah,
it's like a jungle. Sauna down there.
It's like a jungle.
I love it. You can grow anything. Well, one more question for you before I let you go.
Okay.
So I know that these have been awesome tips for people who want to get out there. For someone who's not quite ready to brave it themselves, I know you sometimes can do some planning for people and help them, plan their veggie gardens and make sure that they're set up to be successful throughout the season. Tell us a little bit about that service and how people can get a hold of you if they'd like to learn more.
Yeah. All right. So this is a great thing. So I'm starting to do this business. I did a very high profile customer last summer. I'm not going to name the person's name, but they are quite a person. So I did their estate. And
we're now all in our head just trying to make all kinds of ridiculous guesses. We won't.
Yeah, but I didn't get clearance. I didn't get clearance to name drop. Anyways, I did this custom garden at this person's home on the ocean, and it came out fantastic. And I was really excited about it because I was really working and doing things that I love, and I find that to be a real need. So I've done a handful of people that I know, and charging them a fee. But I've created this thing where I can custom design your garden, or I can be a consult for people. And it's basically trying to get people to be more motivated to grow their things from home and be more self-sustaining. And it is therapy, and it changes people's lives if they decide to really make that a part of their life. I mean, that's why I'm a farmer. It changed my life, and it's in my blood. So it's a part of me now. And I feel people would get great success out of, being more self-sustaining. And even small areas in people's houses, they can grow pretty epic gardens if they give it an opportunity and work hard at it. So like, I will say that people need to not be afraid to fail when it comes to gardening. And it's a lesson you learn every day. It improves you as an individual to try new things. I fail in the garden every day, and the gardens at my place are beautiful, but you need to work at it and try new things. So I provide a service to help people out. I will do a full service, or I can just be there for someone to talk to bounce ideas off. So I have a plethora of options. So, and you can get in touch with me via my Facebook page, which is Little North Farm, or you can reach out to me directly with my cell phone number. My number is 781-526-7763. And shoot me a text. That's my network, is my phone. So don't be shy, and don't be afraid to take chances and grow gardens.
Yeah, I love it. And I appreciate that so much. And I have had some of Andrew's amazing vegetables and things that have been grown on the farm. So awesome, high quality, really fabulous stuff that I could only hope to grow someday. Last year we did little tomatoes and had a pumpkin. We had a lot of stuff fail. But, to your point, we learned a lot, and this year we'll do a little bit better. Andrew, thank you so much for inspiring us to get out there and start thinking about some veggies and flowers and plantings.
Great for having me. Thank you so much.
It is my pleasure. Next up, Mark, we're going to talk about one of my family's favorite games, cribbage, and all for a very good cause.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for having me here today. Appreciate it. Cribbage is a passion of mine. I play, a lot of people play Candy Crush or something like that on their phone when they're passing time. I play cribbage.
I love it. I only play cribbage when other count for me, because my family is really fast at doing the math in their head, and I get frustrated because they do it before I can. So my terms are, I'll play if you do all the math. So
it comes with experience, Samantha. It just, it comes with experience. I looked the other day on my phone, and I think it said I've played over 3,000 games, 3,000 hands.
That's amazing. So, well, tell us, this is all for a really, really good cause. It's a fun fundraiser. Tell us a little bit about what the Cribbage for Cancer is all about, and where that money goes to.
Yeah, thank you. So, as I alluded to, it's my father taught me how to play cribbage. His great uncle taught him to play, and both of them passed away from cancer. And we played it as a family, and it's just an idea that I always had. Cribbage against cancer. It's just a trademark, if you will, I had in my head, but I never had the vehicle to enact it, to put it into use. I joined Kiwanis a few years ago, and COVID hurt us in terms of our fundraising efforts. So looking for new sources of fundraising, I just thought, hey, let's give this a shot. And that's pretty much the genesis behind it.
I love it. So I've never participated in a cribbage, sort of tournament of sorts.
Mm-hmm.
I imagine it might be similar to other kinds of things that I have done, like poker or other games. How will the evening work for those who are going to be playing?
Okay, that's a great question. So in full disclosure, I've played in 1 or 2 tournaments, but we're going to figure it out as we go. Basically what you have is there'll be tables set up, 8-foot tables, with 6 people at a table. 3 of those people will remain stationary, and then the other 3 will play a game, and they'll move to their right. And so depending on how many participants we have, hoping for 50 participants, you'll play anywhere between 5 games or 9 games. And at the end of the evening, you look at how many games you've won. You get 2 points for a win, 3 points for a skunk, no points for a loss. And whoever has the most points wins the tournament.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
those who don't play cribbage, skunk means you lose really badly. There's a line on the board, and if you don't pass the line, that's what that is. So
exactly. So if you lose by 30 or more points, it's a skunk. It's a 2-point victory for the person who wins. If there's also a double skunk, which happens rarely, is if you lose by 60 points or more, and that's a four game win. That rarely happens, though.
I love it.
So
tell us a little bit about how people sign up and help contribute to the fundraiser and participate in the tournament.
Yeah, thank you. We do have there is a formal website set up similar to Eventbrite or other online ticket providers. You can go, it's called Reg Fox is the name of it. There is a website. It's a $50 fee to join the tournament, and you can also add a separate donation of any amount that you choose. It's Saturday, May 13th. We're having it at the American Legion here in Woburn, and that's where our normal Kiwanis meetings are. There's no age limit. You can play if you're 15 or 95. It doesn't matter. There will be food. There will be prizes to winners of the tournament. And, there's all sorts of skill levels that are going to be playing. So I just want to say, I don't want people to feel intimidated if they don't play regularly. So please just show up. It's all for a good cause. Yes, part of the proceeds are going to be going to the Tana Tata Foundation. So that'll be the local charity that'll benefit from it. Yeah.
That's great. And for, certainly the Tatas are well known in the community. For those who don't, they help women who have breast cancer, and are a wonderful local Woburn organization. So it's great to know that that's going to be there. And you mentioned that if you sign up, you can also make a donation, not just your registration fee, but extra. For those who aren't able to play or don't want to play, but want to support this great cause or cheer on one of their loved ones who might be playing, can they just go on and make a donation as well?
Yes. Well, let me strike that. Unfortunately, the website is not set up only to receive donations. It's only for registrations where you have the option to add one. So succinctly, no. If you just want to make a separate donation, you can mail in a check, Post Office Box 521 here in Woburn. You can just note cribbage on your check, or you can arrive at the day of the event and donate. We'd appreciate the support that way, any way we can.
That's fantastic. So excellent. Thank you so much for joining us, Mark. For those of you who are watching, definitely go check it out. Cribbage is really fun, even for people like me who are not great at playing it. And the way the evening is structured, I'm sure it's going to be some great laughs and some good, healthy competition. And I love that it is an activity that people of all different ages and skill levels can play. Thanks for joining, Mark.
Yes, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it, Samantha.
Great. Next up, please welcome Amanda and Jesse for another really fabulous cause that's near and dear to our Woburn community.
Hi, how are you?
Great. So happy to have you back, Amanda, and Jesse, welcome. I know we're going to talk specifically about the upcoming auction and music bingo. Before we do that, I know so many of the people who watch the show are really familiar with the council, but not everybody is. So, because we do have a lot of new people who are joining our community. Jesse, can you just give us a quick rundown of the overall mission of the council?
I can. So we have more than two programs, but we have basically two types of programs. We have a food pantry that helps, supply food on a monthly basis to our families and clients of lower income. We also have a childcare portion as well. So we have a center-based program here at our Merrimack location. We also have 10 family childcare providers that we partner with across Woburn, Wilmington, Burlington, and Hudson areas, where we place children in their homes as well. And then we have a parenting education program. And so we offer parenting classes, different topics, different age groups throughout the year as well.
Oh, thank you so much. Really, really incredibly important resource to our community. I'm so grateful that we have it. So I think we are on many years of our auction. I think it is the 35th year of the auction. But this year you have some new things that are happening with Music Bingo. So tell us what's going to all happen that night.
Yeah, so it'll have all the great things that you've gotten at previous auctions, a live auction, a silent auction, raffles, including heads or tails, and our dine around raffle, which is over $500 of restaurant gift cards. I know that's a popular one. It will also include dinner and a beer and wine cocktail hour from 6 to 7:30, sponsored by Stone and Bank. So we're excited for that. And this year, for the first time, we are having 4 rounds of Music Bingo. If you haven't played Music Bingo, you get a bingo card with song titles, and when it's like name that tune. When they play your song, you stamp it off. So we'll have some great prizes for the winners. We're hoping to keep it, lively and fun for everybody that attends. So we're excited.
That sounds really great. Last year, I got up to use the restroom, and I came back, and something was up for auction, and I decided to compete, but I didn't realize I was competing with a friend of mine and my table mate. And we went back and forth, quite fun. I'm not sure she's fully forgiven me, but it was it was a lot of fun.
Nobody can bid against her this year, so.
Yeah. It really is a fun evening, and it's for a fantastic cause. I know, Jesse, you shared a little bit about the overall mission of the organization, the funds that are raised through the auction, and all the fun things that are happening, the raffles and the bingo and such. How does that money help support the council?
So the money goes to the overall running of our programs. We really couldn't run the programs without the support of the community, but it does go forth because part of our childcare is government funded. It really does help support the food pantry.
Yeah. Great. It's a great resource for folks. So I'm so glad that it's there. Amanda, where do people get tickets? It's coming up soon, right?
Yes, we're just a little less than 3 weeks away. You can get tickets on our website, which is socialconcern.org. And then it'll take you, it's right up at the top as a banner, and it'll take you to the website where you can buy your tickets. You can, next week, starting on the 21st, we'll preview all of our silent auction items online. So you can take a look at those. You can purchase dine around tickets. You don't have to be present to win. And just kind of get an idea of what's going on.
That's awesome. Now, remind us where it's hosted and the date.
Yeah, so Friday, April 28th, it will be at the Crown Plaza here in Woburn, and it starts at 6 p.m.
That's great. And for those who haven't been before, it really is a lovely evening, and there are lots of really interesting things to bid on, and there are things that are of lower value and things of really high unique value. So don't be intimidated by it. It's a fun thing to go hang out and enjoy. Thank you all of us for joining today. We talked about a lot of great things that are happening in the community and Woburn. As always, please continue to take good care of each other.